Ms. Cordes?
Right.
Welcome to the Senate Oversight Committee. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Karen O'Brien Cordes, and I'm a registered voter from Novi, Michigan. On a sidebar, I'd like to say that I was so thrilled to work at TCF this year. I'm born and raised in Detroit. My father was a firefighter for the city of Detroit for 35 years, and I love the city. There's 5 points that I think are of interest that I'd like to present today. The first is I applied to be a poll worker weeks or months before the election and was told that they were full. So then I decided that I wanted to be a poll challenger because I wanted to work at TCF. The first thing in the morning before the work started on November 3rd, Mr. Baxter was speaking to the entire community at TCF, and I found it interesting when he asked for a show of hands of how many Republican poll workers there were. From my quick peruse of the view of the room, I saw no hands go up. And I commented to one of the workers that I was with, wow, that's a surprise. I don't see any Republican hands go up. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I then walked over to the tabulator machines and I watched one of the groups of 2 that were putting the votes in the ballots through the tabulator machine. As the ballots came up, they were rubber banded together in groups of 50 for a total group of 200 that were put through the machines. I counted the ballots, and the ballots that went through the tabulator machine were 196. So I commented to the workers, I said, well, that's kind of interesting because on the laptop, it showed 204 ballots that were counted. But on the tabulator, only 196 went through. So I asked the workers about that, and they said they didn't know why that happened, that they had to put some of them through twice, but they didn't know why, and that I would have to speak to a supervisor. I went back, that was on November 3rd. On November 4th, some of us were summoned to come back that they needed more workers, more challengers. So we went back on November 4th. On the afternoon of November 4th, I believe it was about 4:30 or 5 o'clock when the military ballots came in. And I was working with one particular table when I was witnessing the military ballots, and I found it highly unusual that every military ballot that was logged into the system had a birth date of January 1st, 1900.
You have 1 minute.
And nobody could tell me why the birth dates were 1900. When I went to challenge those votes, the supervisor at the table told me, and I quote, "We're not doing that." So I pressured her. I said, I want this challenge. I want it noted in the laptop and in the poll book. And she said, we're not doing that. And I said, well, I'm not leaving the table until it gets logged in one of them. So she wrote down in the poll book, Karen Cordes is challenging this vote, and she said, because I told her, is challenging every subsequent ballot hereafter.
Okay. Any questions? So, sorry. So when you say they had a date of birth, was it always January 1st, 1900?
Every one of them.
Huh?
Every one of them. January 1st, 1900.
Okay. No explanation's been provided thus far?
None.
All right. Vice Chair Lucido.
Ma'am, how many, how many did you count like that?
At the particular table I was at, on the screen, I saw about a dozen.
You counted those yourself?
Yes. And
Nope.
in my affidavit, I believe I wrote down the ballot or the voter numbers, registration numbers.
Did they have different names on the ballot, or?
Yes. And these ballots came in, they were all in envelopes, military ballots. They had been logically mailed back. And I found it interesting because they were all in pretty stationary envelopes. And I thought, oh, well, maybe our military gets gifts from their families or friends of stationery, because every one of them was in really cool-looking stationery.
But they were different?
Yes.
Thank you.
So when you mentioned that you see ballots, and you see signatures, names, date of birth, you're not actually seeing those on the ballot, right? You're seeing those on an envelope.
The date of birth were on the laptop, on the screen.
Okay.
So at the tables, they had a laptop set up over here, and in the corner, there was a larger screen that we could view what was actually on the laptop screen.
But I just want to be clear, I mean, those pieces of evidence are not actually on the ballot
Correct.
itself? Okay. Any other questions from members? All right, thank you so much for your time today. Next, we have